Right, well, James Bond First Light is going to be the new James Bond video game. And interestingly, it's just caused a massive controversy because the narrative director, Martin Emborg, decided to be like, hey, actually, this is going to fit with the modern audience. You're like, right, okay, cool, brilliant. Excellent. That's just what everyone wants. That's what everyone wants. Everyone wants James Bond not to be James Bond. Brilliant. Brilliant. Just fantastic. So it won't actually be James Bond then, basically. Is the take home. It just won't be James Bond. Can we just kick all subversives out of culture because they're just destroying everything? So this is Grok's summary of the controversy, and we'll kind of look into it. But basically, narrative director Martin Emborg told Monstervine at the Game Awards that the upcoming 007 First Light features a young Bond who has evolved beyond old-school womanizer traits to fit today's expectations. So it's going to be a young Bond who's evolved beyond old-school womanizer traits. Okay, fine. Young Bond, great. Evolved beyond? Why can't he just be, a quintessential womanizer? What's wrong with that? And to say to fit today's expectations. Well, expectations of who? Because it's not going to be James Bond fans, is it? Because fundamentally, James Bond being a womanizer is part of his character. It's part of who he is. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, yeah, but there'd be something wrong if he was, I don't know, not getting consent from people and things, obviously. But he's just a womanizer. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In the age, this is so comical to me, in the age where we lord over, well, not we, I certainly don't, but where a lot of people lord over what is effectively prostitution with OnlyFans, right? OnlyFans hoes. And we were like, oh, you can't actually, this guy can't be a womanizer now, sorry. It's like, right, okay, but we're happy to be like strong woman. You sell your pasty on the internet, and that's fine, is it? Really? Really? Okay, cool. Down is up. Left is right. This is clown world. Absolute clown world. And so you got stuff like this. IO Interactive says an old school Bond would be tone deaf today. As 007 First Light moves the character toward more modern values. Well, the thing about this is, tone deaf, again, that's subjective. Tone deaf to who? Tone deaf from whose perspective? Because, if anything, IO Interactive is tone deaf in saying, having an old school Bond is tone deaf. Because, and we'll look at the article here, because at the end of the day, right, if you've got a character of Bond, so you've got your Bond character, people want Bond. People want it to be James Bond. It's tone deaf to move away from that. It's tone deaf in the era now that we're in, that people haven't realised that video games that are going effectively, I say going woke, but you know what I mean, modern values, right? That sort of stuff. They're not doing very well. What's wrong, IO? How can't you see this? The writing's on the wall for stuff like this, mate. So 007 First Light developer IO Interactive has said that their version of James Bond won't be anything like the old school spy of the 60s. So it won't be James Bond. A decision the studio claimed would be tone deaf today. No, again, it's tone deaf to think the opposite of that. It's tone deaf to not have him be who he is. 007 First Light, which is the next game from the Swedish studio now primed to launch in May, after a short delay, releasing before Hitman 4, which the studio has promised will happen. The upcoming stealth action game is a more modern take on James Bond. Brilliant. So speaking to Monstervine, cinematics director Martin Emborg revealed that while there will be elements of the smooth-talking Bond many have come to expect from the franchise, he'll be a modern guy and will reflect modern values. Brilliant. Brilliant. So when asked at the Game Awards 2025 about whether or not their spy, played by Dexter Original Sin's Patrick Gibson, will share some of the earlier Bond's characteristics, specifically focusing on the character's womanizer tendencies, Emborg explained, basically said, yeah, you will see that, but he went on to explain that the character of Bond has evolved. So he's evolved through the decades, and obviously we reflect modern values. So it's not going to be your old school Bond, which would just be tone deaf in this day, right? He's a modern guy. This doesn't make any sense. What? So he was asked at the Game Awards, will your Bond share some of the earlier Bond's characteristics? Will he be somewhat of a womanizer? Yeah, you will see that, but he's moved beyond that. He's evolved beyond that. And he's got modern values. That doesn't make any sense. He's a modern guy. What is he doing? Like, asking for consent before he goes and speaks to them? What is this? Doesn't make any sense at all. So the earlier James Bond films in particular have rightly come under... I say rightly come under fire. They've not rightly come under fire. Shut up. So many have likened First Light's to IO's Hitman series in terms of gameplay. Emborg says the team has worked hard on the combat system that they hope will create a completely new experience. It's really physical because Bond is a very physical guy. It's a lot of fun, and I think that's something that IO hadn't done before. I think we've also put layers and layers on our ranged combat, like really polishing that and taking that to the next level. So I think everyone at IO has been really hungry to kind of go for that. Yeah, as well as big set pieces, trucks and planes, That's so strange. It doesn't make any sense to me. These are seemingly contradictory statements. Like very, very contradictory statements. Will he be a bit of a womanizer? Yeah, but we've evolved beyond that. What? Well, which is it then? Because it's one or the other. So rightly, obviously, been destroyed online. This is 2.2 million views. So people are, again, just rightly checking out from this already. And it's so bizarre to me how the video game industry just hasn't learned. There are so many video games have bombed recently, like drastically failed. Not even a small amount, as in hilariously failed. 2.2 million views, and they've just been destroyed. Identify as non-binary. Imagine telling this Bond that he answers to two brown women. Bond reflecting the times makes sense. Connery wouldn't fit today's world. What? Well, he did slap women, I guess, so maybe. That's funny. Didn't this game trailer look good? I'm still hopeful. Yeah, the game trailer did look good, to be fair. We need the old school Bond now more than ever. I'm so fatigued with the activists in gaming. Send them back to McDonald's. I think they delayed it to slightly reduce how gay 007 is going to be. It's a modern Sony published game, so I assume 007 will end up being lesbian and raising a mixed baby. Hard pass. Brilliant. I'm going to be a dad. That's the worst line in modern TV. Genuinely. Terrible writing. The whole studio will be laid off in like 4 months. The thing is that at the end of the day, it's very clear what the video game industry wants right now. And we know that it's very clear that that's the case because we've seen flop after flop after flop. They're speedrunning the movie industry experience. It's so strange to me. Like, it's not like they can't just change it. It's not been in the works for... Well, it kind of has been in the works for a while. But you know what I mean? Like, you could change this. Weird statements to make. Weird. You'd even think that you'd tone it down a bit on that kind of rhetoric if you had any self-awareness of what the market wants. Very strange. Very, very, very strange. Anyway, will you be buying this? Leave your thoughts down below.